I really can't be bothered with copyright, so maybe YouTube will be lenient with this list. We've reached the end of the first half of Death Battle Season 8, and it's so far been pretty good. I've at least enjoyed 2 or more parts about every single one of these episodes so far, and that's at least good. I even have one of these in my top 10 favorites episodes ever. But I also have one in my top 10 least favorite episodes ever too. And now it's time to talk about it. Hopefully I remember every element, unlike my Season 2 ranking. Those segments covered very little. Alright, enough talk. Let's begin with my bottom placement. Lex vs. Doom is not a very good episode if I do say so myself. I have no idea why everyone was so excited for this match and why everyone loved it so much when it came out, because it makes me fall asleep when I watch it. I cannot watch this episode without having to deal through the many problems it has, and it doesn't help that they're noticeable as all hell. I'll point out the good first though. The backgrounds are quite frankly stunning, they look incredible. The first frame of animation Luis showed on Twitter looked beautiful, and I still stand by it being great. And it isn't just that background. It's consistently great and is sadly the best part of the animation. And the editing in the analysis is spectacular. Genuinely love it a lot. But as I said, 2 things is the minimum I like for any episode. But for some reason, for this episode, it's the maximum. I don't really like anything else about this. Sure, it has its individual moments, but they don't stand out as much in the dozen or so problems I have. To start off, I dislike the voice acting. Gianni reprises his role, which is fine, but Stephen Kelly doesn't fit at all. His voice is cool, but it doesn't fit Doom well. It reminds me of his performance as Dracula, and it actually made me watch that episode while I was supposed to be writing the script. And it's not like the voices were put to good use with the writing being so boring. Everything about this makes me groan or cringe or skip past it, and that's especially prominent with the cutaways. They just aren't funny. And I hate how they just explain everything to each other, and that's literally the only dialogue written. It's so low energy. That isn't helped by the track. Apex of Doom is so boring to me. I couldn't stand listening to this in the fight or on its own. It is atmospheric, but that is all it is. I've said this is one of my least favorite tracks, and I still stand by that. At least not all of it is low energy. Lex's scream didn't sound like that, but it's at the cost of it being fucking hilarious. And while I did like the death, it's brought down by Doom's final line and the building exploding instead of slicing apart, which was lame. So yeah, I didn't like this at all. I'm at least glad I didn't get my hopes up for it, and I'm happy for everyone else who liked this. Overall, it's a slog that I would only go back to if I needed to. At least the actual killing blow wasn't hilarious. Speaking of hilarious killing blows.
You deaf? You must have 4 times the hearing.
Blake vs. Mikasa is next on the chopping block, and you can probably already guess my thoughts. I have to at least give it credit for a few things. While I shat on the frame rate in my review of the episode God knows how long ago, I honestly can't say it makes this awful because they were experimenting. I've heard they were trying to animate on 2s, which would be pretty neat. I wouldn't mind a Dragon Ball FighterZ-esque death battle. But I still don't think this was the right match to do it, along with the fact that their hair and the camera itself are moving at once. The choreography is still nice though, with a few exceptions that make it look janky as fuck. That Mikasa run is just awful, and I cannot stop laughing at it. At least it's still got the Season 8 shot. This silhouette of just their blades and Blake's hair as her arm is sliced off is fucking incredible. And it's got a decent impact as the song reduces itself just to the lyrics. And there's still no... Speaking of which, Thundershroud is a fucking gift from the heavens. The only thing about this episode one would give a 10 out of 10. It fits incredibly, it isn't as repetitive as most lyrical songs, and it at least tries to fit Ruby and Attack on Titan style well. And it succeeds in doing so. It's still my number 1 track, but I have to admit, Mighty is starting to catch up to it a little. Now the rest. It's only number 7, so either it has a lot of bad or everything is just that spectacular. I'm here to tell you that there is way too much bullshit weighing it down. Yeah, I was really rooting for this episode to be better than Weiss vs. Mitsuru, but I couldn't get that. There's so much shit that drags it into the mud. The writing is fucking awful. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, it is so bad and I cannot be bothered with it. The two cutaway jokes are just so unfunny. They're probably my least favorite of the entire season so far. And the racist joke in Blake's analysis never ceases to make me annoyed. It's no better in the animation either. Mikasa had a good voice actor in Francesca Callo, but her lines aren't always great. I cannot remember how many times my friends and I have memed her first thought. It doesn't make any fucking sense and I cannot listen to it without looking up in confusion or bursting out laughing. But aside from that, Mikasa is very competent in this fight, actively using strategy against Blake. She's definitely the protagonist here. It's unfortunate that Blake got the short end of the stick. Aaron Zek couldn't do any voice acting for this and that's fine, since she was probably busy with Volume 9. It's cool that Mikasa got a bigger spotlight than a Rooster Teeth character on a Rooster Teeth show. But it doesn't help that her reused voice clips don't fit at all. She's initiating the fight while demanding to be left alone and she happily yells incoming as she goes to fight a fucking titan, without an arm or her aura. That's fucking cringe, not gonna lie whiz. And let's reverse to the season 8 shot. After that incredible shot, we get to the death. Blake adds some weight to Mikasa that she didn't expect and throws her off balance, releasing her thunder spear. Blake sends it into Mikasa's chest which clips through her like an Among Us mod and Blake pulls the pin and Mikasa vomits the explosion, turning into Fire Lord Ozai. I'm gonna point out that this looks absolutely fucking awful and it couldn't make me laugh more. I don't want to laugh at it cause it's a cool idea but there's nothing else to laugh at and it's just stupid looking. Overall, I don't think it's good but I wouldn't call it bad. 5 out of 10 right now but it'll probably change later on. Moving on to the next because I've talked too much about this.
Pretty sure I just manslaughtered
The coolest.
Shadow vs Ryoko is still a really good episode. My overall review is still accurate so you can go and watch that if you want. But right now, these are my present thoughts. I still think this is a really good episode. Not a 9 which I so stupidly ranked it but still enough for me to enjoy it. Starting off with the track. Chaos Unraveled is still a total banger which I like a lot. It's since been knocked from my top 5 favorite tracks but it is still in my top 10 with its pretty good verses and godlike chorus. And speaking of sounds, the voice actors do pretty well. With the material given, both Shadow and Ryoko's voices sound great and they fit. I'm not too sure about Shadow's line before he Chaos Blasts though. On one hand, I can see them going for a cool guy type of line that fits Shadow enough. On the other hand, it's super low energy, kinda anticlimactic and it throws most of the catharsis out of the window. Shadow got mugged twice before, one intentionally, but this is all we get as Shadow is finally given his big moment. It's kinda disappointing even if I can see where they were going. Also, I'm not a fan of Ryoko's characterization here. She seems too aggressive to both Senketsu and Shadow. Sure, Shadow doesn't talk much and that's fine. But I don't like how keeps biting at Senketsu and making fun of Shadow. It makes sense for her early on but her series is finished and she's completely different. She's much more in control of her anger and has a better bond with Senketsu. It doesn't feel like Ryoko here. It's weird to me that she's still not in character as they're plummeting to earth and about to die. She still doesn't care unlike Senketsu. I'll quickly point out that Senketsu's voice actor did really good too. Even though that's what I think, it doesn't affect the rest of the animation from being really good. The sprite rigging improved massively from Season 7 and thank God it did. I knew the sprite rigs would be back and got kind of scared that they would be awful since most of Season 7's didn't even hit the average mark. But I was pleasantly surprised. They're overall really good but it has a few weird moments. Specifically, the Kisaragi transformation and the facial animations. The latter got better during the season but it's still really prominent here, and the former is a weird decision to me. The other transformation of Ryoko was better, fan service aside. Visually, the end result looked much more cleaner, unlike Ryoko who fucking shrinks her neck when she's completing the transformation. It's not bad, it just looks odd to me. Anyway, now the actual animation. It's really well done. There's some individual moments I really like. The tornado scene, the Silver vs Shadow reference, Shadow constantly teleporting around, Shadow pulling out the gun and immediately tossing it, the sword clash, the super form clash, the Chaos Spear rain and the Chaos Blast at the end. It all looks great. Then you get to amazing, which is the season 8 shot. You know what I'm talking about, it's the scissor blades eclipsing the Earth. It looks incredible and is definitely the season 8 shot of the episode. But I'm gonna have to go on a downer here. I mentioned this but I never fully focused on it. I don't like most of the writing. I've already said Ryoko isn't characterized right and Shadow's last line is weird, but I also don't like the hand-drawn segments with the hosts and the line Boomstick says before the ad makes me want to die. But apart from those, the rest is fine or good. Shadow overall was written well. His faker line, shut up line and I'm the coolest line all felt in character and worked for me, even if I'm in the minority on the last one. And while Ryoko's sayonara line was good, I still stand by that Shadow should have said it. And for anything I've missed, death was lame, analysis were fine, thank God they acknowledged the Twitter thing and that's it. Still a good episode all around. Tonight. Steven vs. Star is one of the episodes I did not review, along with Poe vs. Iron Fist and Link vs. Cloud 2. This was pretty unfortunate because I was getting sick of reviewing things just so they could be taken down and I was getting bored of the episodes anyway. It sucks because I really like this episode. Starting off, it sounds incredible. The sound design is really well done. I can feel the impact of everything I need to. It's used to be pretty funny with the cutaways and it's overall not distracting. It helps everything blend well and it helps the mystical and bubbly feeling the fight has. Speaking of that, Stars of the Universe is dope as all hell. It's a really nice instrumental that fits both characters and fits generally well with the tone of the fight. It's really good with switching and setting the atmosphere, and the setting works well altogether. I really like the beach setting. It does fit the theme well enough. And it gives us the first listen to their voices. Megameat is really goddamn well as Star. She sounds exactly like her and completely catches Star's personality. I think she has the best performance of the series overall. And it's not like Steven got the short end of the stick. Kaden does really well as him, even though she doesn't sound exactly like Steven. She at least captures the personality of him quite perfectly. They both have some pretty good lines in the fight, from Star's response to Steven's funny sandcastle line to the Pink Steven transformation. It's absolutely awesome and the best moment of the episode. The overwhelming shot engulfing Steven's emotions is the season 8 shot here. I guess I should quit spouting about the sound and get to the animation. To start off, the sprites are impressively made. I wasn't scared of the rigs since Ryoko's were solid, but I wasn't expecting it to be this good. The setup is mean. Star had to destroy Steven's pretty good sandcastle just cause hers was shit. I gotta be honest, there isn't much to say here. It's just a pretty good episode. The sound design, music, voice actors, sprites, transformation scenes and climaxes are all solid. I just have a few problems. There's that one janky as shit and frame lacking scene that's just a boring inclusion. But these two would never resolve this in fisticuffs, so I wasn't expecting that much from this scene anyway. And Star looks kind of funny throughout some of the animation. It's like she's showing the wrong emotion and it's funny. When she's shooting down at Steven, she looks fucking livid. Steven really pissed her off by not accepting the cupcake blast. And the death is just fucking lame and confusing. This is the 5th death with some sort of explosion or vaporization, and the variety makes me feels like they keep biting into the same fruit over and over. But at least there's some variety because Steven grew tits. I'm not joking, it looks like that. I have no idea what the fuck this image is meant to be. It genuinely looks like he grew tits while being vaporized and it's odd. And last, Steven's analysis is weirdly paced. Stars is fine. She gets an introduction before a feat and it actually studies her character and feels like it prioritizes her. Steven's analysis just throws that out the window and just drops the most important feat down in less than a minute, before Steven has even been introduced. It's really weird and it's not captivating in the slightest. Alright, that's all I have to say. It's a solid episode with some really great moments. It's got its problems but not enough to completely break my enjoyment apart.
And the day Death Battle uses an animated film character is the day the sun explodes.
I'm finally getting to the great episodes, and we're only halfway. If this is a tell for the rest of the season, then I cannot wait. So what is the worst of the greatest? Well, I personally think Poe vs. Iron Fist. Let it be known that I think everything after this, including PVIF, are all 8 out of 10s. These are the truly great ones. So let's talk about how this is so great. To start off with something obvious, they've shit on Iron Fist a ton before, and this could have been another Mewtwo vs Shadow, but it wasn't. This gives respect to both of them a tremendous amount and never feels one-sided. They did focus more on Poe, but that's because his inclusion was a massive deal for the show, with him being the first animated film character to appear on the show. And with that focus, comes a huge amount of effort put in. Austin Lee Matthews, who was fucking Ultron before in the show, completely captures Poe's personality. There's no way I was expecting a perfect Jack Black impersonation, so I was completely satisfied. And Iron Fist's voice actor, who I've ironically forgotten while writing, does really well too, with maybe 2 lines that I wasn't much of a fan of. And let's get it out of the way. Sound design is great and so is the track, sort of. Dragons and Dumplings, hilarious name aside, is a really good backing track. But that's it. It's got some really great elements and additions to the track, but this is one of the most backing track feeling tracks they've ever done. Last one I can think of was Goodbye Chimichanga, and that's something I would listen to a lot more. Because while Dragons and Dumplings is very atmospheric and dope, Goodbye Chimichanga is just quite catchy right at the start, much more upbeat and has more elements that I like compared to this track. That's not saying it's bad, it gets incredible near the end. Speaking of that, animation time. The setup is very nice. Poe is perfectly in character and gushing over some unfamiliar martial arts, which is nice. I'm not a fan of the sprite work on Iron Fist right after, but it's not too noticeable on a first viewing. Poe gives us the funny dumpling face and they get into the fight, ending my favorite setup of the season. And I gotta point out the incredible custom sprites on Poe here. They look very much like him. Also, after Iron Fist hypnotizes him after a kind of janky clash, he imagines him as a dumpling to break it, which reminds me. Poe's head unironically looks like a dumpling. I'm not joking, look at it. Okay, continuing on. He lands and fires the Thundering Wind Hammer, which isn't fired right, but fuck it. Iron Fist appears behind him and blasts him down the stairs because Poe can't stop fanboying in my favorite shot in the episode. Poe falling down the stairs makes me laugh every time. He does the funny reference and the stick fight just happens. This isn't the greatest thing to me, it just exists. But it's countered by the whooshy finger hold scene. This just shows how funny Death Battle can be with the right writing and voice actors. Thank you, Austin. You helped this scene drastically. Along with the Iron Fist VA. They go to the spirit world or something and then Iron Fist no-sells the Golden Lotus clap after like 10 seconds. He launches Poe with a ton of impact and Poe summons his dragon thing in a kind of janky shot, but it starts the best scene of the episode. The stunning dragon clash is fucking amazing. Luis popped off here, and the lack of hand-drawn stuff in Geese vs Heihaki paid off tremendously. This is the hand-drawn peaking right now and I love it. But after it's done, we get the bad part of this. The death is just another fucking vaporization death because we can't stray from tradition apparently. And the aftermath has Poe cheerful for some reason, which really disappointed me on my first watch. I genuinely thought the death was a fake out at first, which is something I don't want to say. I was so close to a 9, which would put this up a spot.
Square Enix fans, does this ever happen to you?
I was very torn between these 2 placements, but I had to give Link vs Cloud to the bronze for now. This is still a really fucking good episode without any major problems, but the amount of minor ones bumped it down for me. I'll start off good though. The new animation style of Blender is pretty cool. I find it nice that the original Link vs Cloud one was the first ever 3D fight, while this one was the first ever fight done in Blender. It's nice. The analysis editing is the best of any non-comic episode and I appreciate it. And the voice acting for Cloud is really good. Adam Gibbs is a great voice actor and I really like his voice for Mr. Strife. But unfortunately, I couldn't find Link's voice actor. I can't think of a single reason why they didn't tell me the voice actor for the character who doesn't speak. Okay, seriously, what the fuck? I'm glad they included the "Let's mosey asshole" line in, that was one of my main hopes for this fight. Pretty much everything after Link summons the copies is fucking amazing. The pottery smashing scene was great, even if Cloud's excuse me should have gotten a shot in my opinion. And while I'm not a big fan of the setup, the sword clash and motorcycle fight was pretty based. Also, the death is the best of the season hands down. And the transformation scene from Link to Fierce Deity is fucking stunning. The massive silhouette surrounded by a purple aura of chilling, and Cloud nonchalantly dodging a boulder is just great. And the effect on the fire is fucking great, and adds to the atmosphere. And while the Omnislash can look jank, that's intentional and immediately made up by the stunning shot of Cloud in front of the moon. I can't really decide what I think is the Season 8 shot here. I'll go with the deity shot. But there's so much weighing this down for me. So here it is. Everything after and including when Cloud summons the lightning is harshly mediocre, with the faceplant scene lasting way too long. I'm not a fan of the fusion sword just appearing out of nowhere, and Link flying in front of the camera looks silly as all hell. He looks like he's holding a bomb while running, and has the original's blank expressions. The Fierce Deity fight, as cool as it is the place where the jank is the most prominent. And while the editing was great in the analysis, it's like Wiz and Boomstick were being held at gunpoint. It feels like they're trying to speedrun through it as fast as they can, and it's odd to me. What else? What else? Cloud's model looks pretty bad at some points. Not awful, but I can't call it consistently good, which isn't the best. So while I do still really enjoy this, and I certainly had a blast on my first watch, I have become a little less biased in my opinion. That's not the same for the next one though, so let's go there now.
Man! Thanks, Steve! He's a great guy!
Heihachi vs Geese. Hoo boy, people are gonna call me biased now. Gotta love it. Fib is definitely gonna be calling me biased all week cause of this. But genuinely, I have a lot to say about this, positively. And don't worry, I'm not gonna gush about Heihachi. Geese should get some spotlight here too. The analysis to start is honestly impressive. It's very similar to Ryu vs Jin. With some shit and good jokes mixed and great coverage of the characters. I was expecting a ton of dad jokes, but we only got 2 in the episode. But this had the longest one by far, and it is really painful to sit through. It's almost a minute long. The Elon Musk tangent lasts longer than the Armagigas in Weiss vs Mitsuru. Apart from that dip into hell, the analysis is really well done, especially Geese's. He had a lot of funny jokes. Liam did well here, thank God. And the fight is really well done. I was initially disappointed that it wasn't 3D, but I'm fine with it now. I honestly think it works better this way. I do still think this would have ended up better for the season if it was 3D, cause that means Mikasa vs Blake could fix its issues and come back later in the season. It's fine though. So what's good about this? The voice actors are to start. Brent is amazing, perfectly Geese's broken English, and Yoshi Amao, a name which TTS has surely fucked up in a miserable way, does alright as Heihachi. I still don't think it's great like Geese, but it's serviceable enough. And speaking of sounds, I cannot get enough of Kings of Iron. Never in my life have I listened to the same song so much that I literally stayed up until 3 in the morning listening to it on loop. Its techno beat works perfectly with the Kings of Fighters theme, and I like how they used elements of Geese's theme. I love the music during the predictable line and when Heihachi is getting the edge with his chi. It's so fast-paced and works so well. God, I fucking love this track. Second place of the season, easily. I did say Chaos Unraveled got topped, didn't I? And the sound design is a huge step up from Lex vs Doom. It wasn't bad there, this is just so good. The death is something I've come around to like more. I used to dislike the hand-drawn stuff a lot, but not as much anymore. I still don't think it's great, but it's good enough to make it one of the best of the season to me. In fact, the entire climax is just perfect. It fits so well, with them both falling into the volcano and the music reaching an intense moment as it reaches closer to the climax. There's so much I love, Jesus Christ. Time to list off the rest because I can't make this segment 10 minutes long. The Heihachi sprites, the setup, the constant and funny use of predictable, the fucking stunning zoom out shot of them fighting in the distance, the part where they took a short break which is a rarity in the show now, Geese not giving up at the end, the impact of the raging storm, and the fast-paced energy throughout the entire battle. There is so much to love, but there has to be bad to make it only number 2. There isn't much, but it's still there. The tangent in Heihaki's rundown is still pretty painful. Heihaki throwing this boulder looks really janky. This pause as Geese throws the double Rapuken is a little too long and, that's it. Yeah, I love the episode a lot. That's all I have to say, moving on. Also Fib, don't call me biased cause I know you're thinking it, you spoon. In fact, Steve Fox wasn't part of the episode like in Ryu vs Jin. Fuck it, this is now number 8.
And to challenge me, you must be a master.
Okay, I'm here to apologize for something I said in the most cringe thing ever put on YouTube. In my original review of this, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I cannot believe I was that dumb. It took me a while to realize that all my problems with this episode were valid, but not as big of an issue as I made it out to be. I said I dislike the jank, which I stand by, but it's quite hard to notice it outside of this shot here. This episode is so special. I made fun of it. I gave it so much shit. But around the time of my Lex vs Doom review, after seeing something I truly disliked, an epiphany arrived. I had been lying to myself and you guys about my opinion on this. It's not just a good episode. This episode is truly spectacular. Yoda vs Mickey has surpassed my expectations tremendously. And I apologize for lying. So what's so good about this? Well, apart from that one shot, the Ninja Kermit joke and the cutaway, literally everything. The analysis studies their characters and treats them right. It's not a study of their feats, but it still includes the important things. They managed to make the serious and funny bits balance in both the analysis and animation. The setup works and instantly shows they are very clearly respecting of each other's power. And the voice acting is impeccable. Yoda and Mickey are portrayed so accurately and having some genuinely incredible lines. My favorites are the back-to-backs near the end, as Yoda is backing Mickey into a corner. It's so perfect with their characters and it works so well. Mickey is stuck with a permanent smile, but he's managed so well that he looks hopeless as he considers Yoda's words. He manages to get a grip and says he can try his best, and starts getting out of the corner he's been out in. Yoda even gets his do or do not line as a rebuttal, and I love it. The music also adds so well to this scene. Hearts of Light is a beautiful track and it's such a great compliment to this fantastic episode. The climax of the song is possibly one of the best I've ever heard. Thundershroud is amazing, but its ending is just pretty good. Mighty is really great but still can't hold a candle to this. Megamania has a fucking awesome guitar solo, but it's still not on the level of his climax. I cannot believe I could love a track this much. In fact, this is the 3rd time I've contradicted myself on this list because I keep forgetting and remembering the track order. But to get it in check, Thundershroud is 1st, Hearts of Light is 2nd, Kings of Iron is 3rd and Chaos Unraveled is 4th. There you go. Alright, now to focus on the animation. I'ma quickly say thanks that it's not the 4th Marvel vs DC premiere because I was getting sick of those. There was only one good one and they were boring. This is the opposite. Thank God it is. As I said, I love the setup, and the Keyblade to lightsaber combat is really well done for SFM. The team might be human, but with this, I'm not sure I'm convinced yet. They're all spectacular at this stuff. Except for Batgirl vs Spider-Gwen, but that's all kinds of cursed anyway. There's a lot of moments that I love in this fight. Them trying to disarm each other but failing is great, especially for Yoda. The camera angle works superbly at that moment. In fact, to point this out, Mickey has a permanent smile in this entire fight and the team did well hiding it in the moments they needed to. The only time they didn't try was the fake out at the end, but it's fine because it's supposed to be goofy. There are so many holes they could have fallen into, but they've really outdone themselves. I don't know what else to say but correct myself. Everything works so well together and it's hard to put into words how special this is to me. I think the biggest correction is the death. Even if the actual killing blow is kinda weak, it's balanced out by everything else around it being incredible. Plus, with a match like this, Ultima is the only suitable end for this match. I wouldn't like it if it was super brutal, and it gives us a great fake out. Plus, I love the last moments. The Ultima is delivered really well and Yoda knew when he was beat. He tried to win but he lost the advantage. Yoda was the stronger master. And in that moment, he closed his eyes, and accepted his fate as Ultima engulfed him. I've gushed so much here, but how could I not? This is a true masterpiece, and it's gonna be an incredibly hard mountain to scale if they want to do better. Without a doubt, this is my favorite episode so far of Season 8. And that's the first half of my ranking. This is turning out to be one hell of a season. I'm really hoping that the next matches are good. Also, TQ has to do a face reveal because guess who's back? Batman. To sum up my thoughts on this, I'm pissed that he's back. He didn't need to return, but he did because you can't have an important season without Batman apparently. Also, he's fighting Iron Man. There's pretty much nobody that's fighting the Hellbat that isn't Tony. God, we cannot lift the curse of more than 3 episodes away from these 2 fucking franchises. I'm not gonna get my hopes down though. I'm hoping it's good, I'm hoping it's not hand-drawn, and I'm hoping it doesn't ruin the good streak Season 8 is on right now. Okay, I'm glad you watched this. I hope you all have a nice day, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See you when the next video comes out.